Okay, this is the second in the series of my list box descriptions. In the last list box description, we made uh, a macro that we attached to the what we found to be list box 6. We cleared out the cells. We found the list box. We said if it's a selection, if it's the selected cell, then put the cells into some kind of range, and then we had to get out of the list box. Those were the essential features. Now this time we're going to do a little fancier. We're going to put this in a, we're going to clear out a range name. We're going to create a name and then clear out the name. Just make a loop that goes around for I equal range 2, 1 to range.count. We'll create a counter variable for the number of rows so that last time when we put our output, you notice that it went into a blank. Okay, we would rather have the logs right next to each other. Okay, so I think we would, at least I would. And then we're going on our output. When we put our output in, instead of just outputting to some column 1 or something, we can output range.cells. So this is going to be range.cells here and a range.cells here. Okay, and then when we're finished with all of this, then we're going to go to the graph, and we're going to try to assign this a macro to exactly this graph, so it won't be that hard. So we can take multiple graphs. Okay, so that's what's going to be on this video. Now, to make the video, the first thing I think, I already made a named range. I called this list out to. Okay, so I just selected this and typed in list out to in the name box. Okay, you make whatever named range you want. Okay, and I made it long enough to cover this. I suppose you could have gotten really, really fancy and made a dynamic range name, but that's kind of perhaps overdoing it a little. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to clear out the range name. So that was called list out underscore 2, I hope. Remember this. It was called, right here, this was called list underscore out 2. And then what we do is we go up here and we say, well, let's clear out range list underscore out 2. I hope I remembered it correctly. Okay. And then just to do the same thing, why don't we do it list out underscore out 2. Of course we have to put the range around it, and that's so we can do this now. The next thing we don't need to do is this whole business of putting it in the 26th row, and we don't need to do the same thing putting it in the 26th row here. And if we were a little bit fancier, what we would do here is find start cell equal active cell dot address. I didn't put this one in because that's kind of extra. And then we would put range start cell dot select. Okay, sometimes I have to put activate. I never quite know. And we're ready to go. Okay, so now let's try this. So we put bananas, and what it did is it put it over here in this cell. Okay, so if we put gas, it put them all in. If we take this out, it just put the one in. Okay, so we've got it right, except the thing I don't like is that I don't really like this. I'd like to put them all in order. So the next thing I said, well, create a counter variable to do that. And we'll just go back to our uh, thing, and we're going to clear out the cells. That there's no issue there. And let's assign row equal to 1. Okay, and then what we'll do is increment the row. Now to do this, I'm going to have to put the if statement in a little bracket. Okay. And in the bracket, as soon as we're only going to increment the row if we found one. And then instead of having this being cells I, we'll put it to cells row. So we're just going to put, let's just review. So all I did was assign a variable, and then it just increments only if we hit this. So it'll first hit cells row 1, and then if we don't have anything to the last row, it'll increment the first row and then assign it. Okay, so let's see if that works. So we click on bananas or gas, and it does it for us. Now the next thing I did, so let's say we have 3 variables, these 3 variables. Now I took this one, this number should come from this. Remember, this is a review, so this is a match of this variable against all of these variables. I couldn't have kind of a row number. It would be nice to have some kind of code number instead, but I don't. And so this is a match, and we say match 2, and then once we have this number, I'm going to select this one and copy it down. And I should have copied it down one more even. Okay, and the way this works, just so you remember, that's good. We want an NA, and of course God. Okay. And what did I do here? Oh, shit. Shoot, sorry. Should have done some kind of F4 on this. See why I hate F4s so much when you're using index and match and lookup and everything else. Okay. Alright. Hopefully I didn't make too many. Shoot. Hopefully. Notice I'm saying shoot. Now, okay, now what we want to do is make a graph of all of these. Now, I think I did this. Okay, so right now it just graphs. If you really want to look at this, it just graphs all of these numbers, but it includes an NA on the graph. Okay, so if you look at chart 5, the last one, it doesn't say NA here. That's kind of interesting. Oops. But of course this doesn't apply now. So all we have to do on this one is assign a macro, and we put new, and it says list box change, which is exactly what you want to do. And the easiest way to do this for me is to copy this and just change this from listbox 6 to listbox 4. Hopefully I didn't. Hopefully this will find this in the right sheet. So let's try it. Okay, that's the way it's supposed to work. And it doesn't have an active cell, so we have to take that one out. Excuse me. And this one will be about active chart. Active chart dot plot area dot select. Now that might not be elegant enough for you. Okay, and so now we have 2, 3, but we have to select something else for that thing to really work. Okay, I'm not sure. Each time you remember we used a thing, so we used a random number generator if you looked at the other, so set max. So if I would want to do this, I could also go to assign macro, press edit, and at the very bottom I could just put set. Was it set max, I hope? I can't remember. Crap. Okay, instead of embarrassing myself, yes, it was that with the underscore. Okay, so now we are just about finished. Okay. All right. And there's only one more thing I want to do, and I hate these little NA things at the end. That's my complaint. So instead, we're going to put we're going to make a label and put that label. That's going to be the last one on this. But this is kind of the big one. Okay.